Andrew Holmes and welcome to my YouTube channel. I've been meaning to do something for a long time, but I never get round to it. But today I'm going to show you my hi-fi system. I've done one or two videos regarding hi-fi or records in the past, but I've never actually shown anybody the system I use. And you know, I'm really proud of it, and I think it's great, and I think perhaps you might be interested to see it too. So that's what I'm going to do today. I've recently acquired some new speakers, and that's partly what's prompted me to do this video. Over the past couple of weeks I've been testing my new speakers and my system out, putting it through its paces, and I've been using some of my favourite records to judge the improvement, and the improvement with these new speakers is absolutely massive. My old speakers were Wilson Benesh Act 1, I think they were called. Very good speakers, beautiful speakers to look at. And I had those, I bought them second hand, and I used them for about 10 years, I'd say at least. But it was time to upgrade eventually. So and now I've acquired a different make, but they're British. In fact, most of my hi-fi is British, I would say. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. So I've set up putting it through its paces with some records, and I've been getting a pile of records here that I've been playing, and I thought I'd just show you. Here's one which is a very beautiful record. It's in my view, it's the best record that they've made. It's First Aid Kit, and it's called The Big Black and the Blue. There's the rear of the album, if you can see it. The Big Black and the Blue, and there's some absolutely stunning tracks on here. You know, they're all good. The whole album is very good. I think it was their first album, and as is often the case with the first album, it's often the best. But anyway, it's a great album. It sounds amazing. Lots of acoustic stuff on here. Yeah, very highly recommended as a test record. Another one is a good old favourite of mine, Genesis, Trick of the Tail. This is a completely different type of genre. Very heavy, lots of bass, very well produced. I can't remember. Oh, this particular version is a half-speed mastering version. I don't know all the details of it, I can't read it. But anyway, yeah, so this is mobile fidelity version, but even some of the basic, ordinary, regular versions are very good too. So that's good. By the way, my favourite track on Trick of the Tail, Los Endos. Superb. Here's another one. Sadly, we no longer have Tom Petty with us, as you will all know, but this is an absolutely amazing album called Mojo. It's an album that I often use to demonstrate my system. It's got some fabulous guitar stuff on it. It's very well recorded, despite obviously being digitally recorded. It's produced by Tom Petty and Mike Campbell. My favourite track is Good Enough on this particular album, but they're all pretty good. So another highly recommended album. This one, Joan Armour Trading, the album's called Joan Armour Trading, and the artist is Joan Armour Trading. If you haven't heard this album, then you must get it, because I would say out of all the albums I've been playing, possibly except for one, which I'll tell you about in a minute, this is probably the best recorded album I have in my collection. It's called Joan Armour Trading, and it's by Joan Armour Trading. It's very highly recommended, this album. Now this record you're probably not going to know about at all. In fact, very few people will know about this, but it's a beautifully produced album. It's an analog recording. It's by a guy called Clifford T. Ward, and you may possibly have heard Home Thoughts from Abroad, which was the sort of single that was released off the album. But it's Clifford T. Ward is a guy who actually grew up in the town where I live. Sadly, he's not with us either. I think he had some sort of a motor neuron disease or some crippling disease, which killed him, unfortunately, halfway through his, well, he'd only just really started his career, I think, when it started to take effect, which is sad because he was such a talent. And this is, again, this is very well recorded. My favourite track on here is The Open University, that's good. Time the Magician. Oh, The Dubious Circus Company. Ah, and Home Thoughts from Abroad. Really nice tracks. So a lovely album. Again, one that is my demonstration album. London Grammar. Many of you will know this band. This, I think, was their first album. Very, very well recorded for a digital recording, and it's got some tremendous bass on here. If your system is struggling with bass, then it will struggle with that because it's horrendous, the bass on there. But if you've got the right system, it sounds amazing. Not the last. This is the second but last album that I'm going to quickly show you. It's Kate Rusby, who is a folk singer from Yorkshire, I believe. Philosophers, Poets and Kings. And this is a particularly good recording. It's also limited, I think, to 500 copies. So I think you don't very often get an album these days, which, you know, the worst case scenario is you're going to have copy number 500. They're all very good. I mean, this is number 349, but it's incredible. It really is a fantastically well recorded album, and this girl can sing so beautifully. So Philosophers, Poets and Kings by Kate Rusby. And then finally, well, we all know what this is, don't we? Don't need to tell you. This is a copy. This is a record that I've acquired only recently from a good friend of mine, actually, and it is a first pressing of Dark Side of the Moon. This sounds amazing. It is the best record in my collection for sound. Well, the music's brilliant as well, isn't it? We all know that, but the sound quality is amazing with this one. So those are my go-to albums. I've got others, but those are just a few I thought I'd just whet your appetite with. I've probably forgot some which are equally as good as these, but you know, you'll all have your own favourites too. So now I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll talk you through my hi-fi. Okay. Hiya, back again then. Here we go. This is my system. One of the things that I did with my system from a very early stage actually was to establish a good record playing turntable, because it's like what they say with, I think it's computers, rubbish in, rubbish out. So I think personally that if you get that right, everything else will follow on. And you can make improvements with other things, but this is probably, in my view, the most important element to any good record playing system. And this particular record deck is a Linn LP12. I've had it, I don't know when I bought this deck, it's one of the old casings, and I've had it, I must have had it over 40 years. Yeah, so let's take a closer look. Yeah, so this is the Linn LP12. It's the old fluted wooden case, but it's had, as far as I'm aware, it's been upgraded pretty much to the highest level of upgrade that you can make. It's got a, I'm not sure whether it's a core or keel sub chassis. It's probably the best you can get. It's also got it's all been tuned up. The suspension is to the top level that you can possibly have it put to. It's got the radical power supply and speed control as well. I'm not a highly technical person, so you'll have to just bear with me. I'm just going to show you the system, tell you what I've got and how much I love it. I'm not going to go into all the details. This arm is particularly a favourite of mine. I've had this for many years too. It's an Arrow, a Naim Arrow tone arm. I just love this tone arm. It's beautiful. It plays so beautifully. And also the cartridge is good as well. It's a Lyra Etna. Again, a highly recommended cartridge. So the turntable is the bit that I think is probably one of the most important elements of any good record playing system, and I love mine. Now, in terms of boxes that I've got, this is the Naim Superline phono stage, which I think performs fantastically well. The next box down is I think it's the NAC252 preamplifier. We then have the Linn Radical power supply and speed controller for the deck. I think this is probably the NAP250 power amplifier. Then we have a high cap, which is powering the Superline, I think. Yeah, it is. Again, I'm not a great expert in these things. I hate taking the stuff apart because I panic that I'm never going to get it back together again. And then finally at the bottom there's a super cap which is powering the preamp. I think that's about it, and this is a Naim frame, which is very good. Right, so these speakers are the Kudos Titan 808. It's their flagship model. Kudos speakers are made up in Sheffield in the United Kingdom, and they've got a very good reputation. They're in two sections, two pieces, both of which are very heavy, I might add. So they fit together at this point here, and they're extremely well made. The precision, the quality of the engineering, everything about these speakers just oozes quality. I believe the actual drive units are Norwegian, maybe. SEAS seems to ring a bell, but I'm not 100% certain. Very, very good drive units, exclusive to Kudos. Yeah, so they're quite expensive, but worth every penny, and they really do. They are the icing on the cake for my system now. I am so pleased that these speakers have really just finished off the system. It's beautiful now. I can't see me ever wanting to make any other alterations to it. Lovely speakers. So many of you watching this video might think, oh, that guy's loaded. He must be a very wealthy man. I'm not a wealthy man at all. Okay, I'm reasonably well off. I'm retired. Yeah, I'm not a super wealthy man by any means. My father bought me the speakers, and all of these Naim amplifiers and power supplies I've upgraded over the years. The record deck, okay, I've had it about 40 years, but my first record deck was a Pioneer PL12D. This is going back, almost 50 years ago, probably 45 years ago at least. A PL12D Pioneer. Then I upgraded it to a Thorens TD160. I remember these decks because they're so lovely. I just love record decks. And then I upgraded to the Linn LP12, and that was again about 40 years ago. And since then, of course, I've slowly, when I've had a few quid, upgraded the various components to bring it up to the highest standard that I can afford at the moment. At least, if I think it is pretty much up to the highest standard that you can get, I'd say, not far off anyway. And the same applies to the Naim components. I started off with the little shoebox Naim amplifiers and stuff, and I've slowly, the one beauty of buying Naim equipment is that it keeps good value. You can trade it in for a better standard component. You can upgrade it. They're great things, and they last. I mean, the oldest thing I've got here, to be fair, is probably that high cap, which is only probably about 10 years old, but most of the rest of it is all relatively new. But prior to that, I had lesser standard components. But Naim equipment was, and I hope is, some of the best well-made equipment you can buy in terms of amplification and hi-fis. Yeah, so all in all, the system, I think, is incredible. There's no point in me playing it to you because you're not going to be able to tell on a YouTube video. But it is an incredible system. I love it a hell of a lot. I'd highly recommend any of these components to anybody because I just think they're some of the best. One of the things I didn't mention about was the shelf. This is an ordinary steel tubular shelf, but it's bolted to the wall with some really, really big bolts, so that isolates it generally from any sort of vibration. And I'm also very lucky in this house where I live, in that the floor under this carpet is concrete, so the spikes on these speakers go straight down into the concrete, and I think that that's probably going to be a big help to anybody. If you've got a wooden floor, I think you're going to probably aren't going to quite get that connection between the speaker and the floor. Yeah, so that's it. So I hope you found this interesting. It's not very technical, but who cares? It's my hi-fi system. I wanted to show you all what I've got, so you know when I'm cleaning records on what some people think is an extremely rubbish record cleaning method, I'm telling you now, it's not. It works very, very well. And I've got that Dark Side of the Moon record, could be worth a few £100, but I still clean it on that system, and I never ever have to, rarely ever have to put a brush over the stylus of my cartridge, ever. So there you go. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed it. Stay tuned for, if you've liked the video, subscribe and like and do whatever you have to do on YouTube. Because I'm going to be coming up with some new videos. I'm buying records quite a lot at the moment. So I'm going to be telling you about what I've bought. And also maybe some of the best sounding albums that I've got, other than the ones I've already told you about. Okay? So anyway, thanks for tuning in. And ciao. See you soon. Bye.